Good morning.
Good morning.
This is my circle of life and light journey. As you all know, Ruth is quite persistent when it comes for members speaking at the 8 o'clock service. When the phone call came 2 weeks ago, I knew this time I couldn't say no. I had done it too many times, avoiding getting up here and also putting it off because I'm too busy, Ruth. And it's summer and everyone's home. All the kids, the family in August. Anyway, I said to her, please help me with a passage. One on finding the light. And she called back and gave me John 8 through 12. I gave Ralph the wrong passage and asked him to print it up. He wasn't quite too sure, so he called Ruth back and got the right passage. So we printed it up and put it on my desk. It was a busy day for me, and later at the end of the day, I found a printed piece of paper, and it said, the heading was, "The Woman Caught in Adultery." And I said, oh my God, goodness, what was Ruth thinking? My journey in life certainly hasn't taken me down that path. But then I scrolled down and saw the next passage highlighted in red. Thank God you highlighted in red, Ralph. Jesus, the light of the world. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have that light of life. I had a great sigh of relief then, going from adultery to the light of life. My faith journey has been a little complex. My father was Episcopalian. My mother was Catholic. I was baptized in the Catholic Church and raised in Catholicism. However, in my teen years, my parents sent me to an Episcopalian boarding school, and it was where my father attended Cushing Academy. And I learned recently from Bob King, his mother went there, which is very interesting to me. I loved the vibrant songs we sang in chapel in the morning, and it was a different place than the Catholic Church, which was always in Latin. And I think that's where I got my love of song and prayer and music. And one of the things in this church, you know how great the music is. As a youth, I believed, but did I really know the power of believing in Jesus, our Lord? I married Ralph in a Catholic church, and a year later, we joined the Peace Corps and were sent to Afghanistan to teach English, so that the youth of Afghanistan could go to Kabul University, which had been established in English. Ralph often says, well, how did we do? Knowing what's going on in the Middle East today. Our time there was in a peaceful time, and today it's rather sad where it has evolved. It was here in Afghanistan that I was definitely exposed to a different faith. The Muslim religion, where 5 times a day you could hear the call for prayer in the mosque as we taught school. In the distance, you would hear the voice calling the prayer for the men to come with their prayer rugs and pray in the church. I realized then that there was one God, but many religions and many ways to worship and pray. Even in Afghanistan, I made that weekly trip to church on Sundays, riding my bike 5 to 6 miles across Kabul's dusty dirt streets and out into the desert to the Italian embassy. No one spoke English there. This was the only place there was a Catholic church in the whole country of Afghanistan. But it was my safe haven each Sunday. However, it also was my conflict too. While serving in Afghanistan, the Peace Corps asked that you did not become pregnant due to the bad health conditions or having children in the country. It was in the confessional that I would be admonished for taking the birth control pill, and I would come away saddened and very, very confused. Here I was volunteering to do good in the world, and my religion damned me. The journey of life continued after Afghanistan. We moved back to the United States, went to graduate school, and upon graduation, Ralph joined Mellon Bank. And for 23 years, we lived in the world's largest cities, London, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Manila, back to London for 6 years, and then home to the United States. I truly knew I was blessed in having a life exposed in that world. We could have been moving to Erie, PA, Pittsburgh, you know, all these little small communities in the States. By the time we had our second stint in London, we had 2 children, 4 and 7, Ben and Carrie. We had realized that we wanted to bring up our children in faith and a belief in God. Because I had struggled with Catholicism so much, and Ralph was brought up Episcopal just like my father, we started to go to the Church of England, and it was a more progressive church than your formal English, Episcopalian church. And it reminds me a bit like here. Anyway, I felt comfortable again in the Episcopal faith. It was back to English, no Latin, music and prayer. Even though I was in London, that old feeling of comfort surrounded me like my days in the New England chapel in my teens. Life was good. I went to church with my family, I believe. But again, I look back now. Did I really know what it was to believe? We brought up our children to love God, to be kind and loving, and to take care of their fellow man. At times we had struggles, and I would pray hard at night for help to get through those moments. But in '96, we moved to Kennebunk. I had summered here every summer of my life since I was 15. My sister and her family lived here, and my mother lived here, and it was home for me after all the years of living abroad. And of course, Ralph, growing up in the Dust Bowl of Oklahoma, the only place he wanted to retire to was Maine, specifically the Kennebunks and living by the sea. We attended St. Anne's in the summer, but then had a void in the winter, until one day we attended a funeral at Church on the Cape, and Pastor Gardai was the minister. I knew this family well, but they had not gone to church, but wanted their dad buried within the church. Bill did not know this man, but I was just blown away when I heard Bill tell the story of this man's life. He had spent many days before the funeral with this family, learning everything he could about my deceased friend, and it was like he was just bringing him home. That night I said to Ralph, we have to join a church. We cannot live the rest of our lives without worshiping in the winter. Nor could we leave our children in the dilemma, where do we bury mom and dad? And that started a new journey of faith. After moving here, I became very committed to building a hospice facility in York County. My mother had passed away of cancer at 92, and I might add, I hope I get those genes, or I have those genes. At this time, Maine ranked next to last in hospice care in the United States. It was through lots of hard work of many, many people and lots of fundraising, and also approaching some of my great clients, that in 2008 we were able to open the Gosnell Memorial Hospice House. Yet never thought I would need a hospice house. I was not going to have cancer, and death was too far away. Then whammo, January 2009 changed my life dramatically. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, a type that only 25% of breast cancer patients get. And it makes your chemo and your other medicines another extended 18 months. It was at this time of my life I had fear. And in bed at night, I would pray, but was God even hearing me? I felt I was being punished for, quote, the good life. In March, I had my first chemo treatment, which changed my life then. Within 3 days, I had a high fever, no white blood cells to fight the infection, and was put into an isolation unit at Mercy Hospital. Being so naive at that time, I thought after my first chemo treatment, I would feel bad for a few days, and then I would just be up and back to work and everything, until your next treatment. The staff at Hurlbutt Designs was very supportive, as my family was, and had organized a fundraiser at Mary's Walk, and it was Team Hurlbutt Walks with Louise at Mary's Walk. And it was the Sunday that I was in the hospital from Friday, and the walk was Sunday. Well, I certainly was not going to walk. I wasn't going to be walking a Mary's Walk for sure. As they took me into the isolation unit, a room sealed off and only medical staff allowed in the room with their space-style uniforms, I truly felt alone and afraid. No family could come in the room. For the first time, I realized that I was fighting for my life. If the antibiotics did not work, I was told, there was not much else that could be done. I went through the day delirious and with a high fever. As the darkness came in the night, I knew I was going to die. I prayed and I prayed, feeling ever so alone in the darkness. Then, all of a sudden, this bright circle of light was shining down me with great warmth. I started calling, Mom, Dad, is that you? Who is it? It was like, I felt like a outer space thing was coming down, and it was circling me, and I could feel like a vibration. And then I call, Carrie, Ben, my children, where are you? Is it you? I also thought, maybe something's invading the hospital with their lighting system. But then as that circle of light came closer down around me and illuminated this very dark room, very small room, I heard, fear not, I am with you. I knew then it was Jesus and his light. I should not fear. I will never walk in darkness unless his light is around me and the world. A serene calmness came over me. I realized God was speaking to me and the fear was gone. I closed my eyes and accepted his warmth surrounding me, and I truly felt that this was the end and that it was some exposure. I didn't know, I didn't understand, but I did feel the comfort. I woke several times through the night, and the circle of light had become warm and truly thought I was going to another place. Exhausted and letting go, I must have gone off to a deep sleep, as when I woke in the morning, not realizing that I would make it, the sun was bursting through the windows, and I could tell that I was truly alive, and the antibiotics were working. I knew then what it is truly to believe in the power of God. I knew then that God was with me and that I did not have to be in darkness, that his love was around me. I didn't have to be embarrassed to tell people that I now really believed in God. However, this shook me up. How could I explain this to anyone? I went to Ruth and said, I have to talk to you as soon as possible. We met, and I shared my story and experience in the hospital, and then what happened when I came back to church. As only Pastor Ruth could explain, I learned that this was a near-death experience, and I was experiencing what it is like when you're about to enter the gates of heaven. I hope it was heaven and not hell. This experience truly changed my life. My cancer treatments progressed. I had some tough days. Losing your hair as a woman is really not fun. I can remember the day I could not stand wearing my wig. It was so hot, and my daughter, Carrie, said to me, Mom, just take it off. Just be proud about who you are. All the young girls in chemo don't wear their wigs. It's you old ladies who are embarrassed. So I took off that wig and we went to church, but I wouldn't walk down the aisle and sit in my usual seat. I sat in the back, because I didn't want anyone to see me, and I'm looking at what's going to happen today, and I saw, oh my God, there's communion. I always go to communion. I felt like the little dog that had been shaven and had his tail between his legs. I was so embarrassed. I just thought I would slip out. I was just going to slip out the back. But I didn't, as when I stood up to make the walk out, my friend Judy Emery in the choir, she thought I was going to communion, gave me a thumbs up. And with that, the other members of the choir gave me a thumbs up. And it was like, okay, I can do this. These gals are surrounding me. Wow, it was really embracing. I now have celebrated my 5 years cancer-free, and this year I walked in Mary's Walk in March, and I did it for my dear friend Judy, who no longer is with us. And it was someone I could mentor through breast cancer. She'll never know what her thumbs up did for me, but I hope she realizes it. It was ironic that we could help each other, and in the end, I could really help her at the hospice house. It was the most beautiful thing to be with her as she passed away and went to the pearly gates. We were very, very lucky. I realized, though, through her death, how fortunate I am to survive and how precious life is. Jesus coming into my life in a different way has made me very appreciative every single day, the gift of life. I drive Ralph and my family crazy at times, as I just want to do it all. I feel I can't waste a minute to live and give back. My struggles have taught me many things, and my words to you are, whatever you face in darkness, truly know you are surrounded by God's love. And if you believe, he will guide you. Give back to those in need, and he will reward you. In closing, I repeat the words, Jesus, the light of the world, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So do live your life to the fullest. And I want to thank Pastor Ruth and every member of this church who supported me on my cancer journey and in my faith journey now, that I share it with you. This is one amazing church, one amazing group of people. I can stand proudly and say I truly believe in God.